Address of His Holiness Pope Leo XIV to the members of the General Chapters of the Order of Friars Minor Conventual and of the Order of the Most Holy Trinity and of the Captives. This is from Friday, June 20th, 2025. Took place in Clementine Hall, and it's from the Italian. It's a Google Translate. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, peace be with you. Welcome, dear brothers and sisters. I greet in particular the Superiors General. Both have been confirmed, the counselors and capitulars of the orders of Friars Minor Conventual, and those of the Order of the Most Holy Trinity and of the capitulars, as well as the delegates of the third orders and the lay groups. Being able to welcome Franciscans and Trinitarians together reminded me of a painting in the apse of the Basilica of St. John Lateran, which depicts an audience of which this could be a beautiful reenactment. In fact, the image shows Pope Innocent III receiving St. Francis and St. Juan de Mata together to honor their great contribution to the reform of religious life. It's interesting to note that St. Francis is depicted kneeling with a huge open book, almost as if he were about to say to the pontiff, quote, "Your Holiness, I ask you only to live the rule of the gospel sine glossa," end quote. See testimony, I believe it's testimony probably 14 to 15. Sine glossa means without commentary, just straight up. Something Pope Francis used to say a lot. St. Juan de Mata, on the other hand, is standing and holding the rule that he drafted together with the pontiff. If St. Francis shows his docility to the Church, presenting his project not as his own, but as a divine gift, St. Juan de Mata shows the approved text, after studying discernment, as the accumulation of work. It is absolutely necessary to realize the purpose that God has inspired. The two attitudes, far from being in contrast with each other, would have illuminated each other and would have been a guidance for the service that the Holy See has carried out since then in favor of all charisms. God inspired these two saints not only a spiritual path of service, but also the desire to discuss with the successor of Peter the gift received from the Spirit to make it available to the Church. St. Francis explains to the Pope that the need to follow Jesus without reservations, without other ends, without ambiguity or artifice. St. Juan de Mata expressed this truth with words that would later prove fundamental and that St. Francis would make his own. A beautiful example would be that of living, quote, without anything of one's own, end quote, without anything, quote, hidden in the room of the pocket or of the heart, end quote, as Pope Francis emphasized. See address to the Cantoneses of the Order of the Holy Spirit on December 5th, 2025. Neither of these terms expresses the need for this dedication to be transformed into service, for the superior to be perceived as a minister, that is, the one who makes himself smaller to be the servant of all. It's interesting to note how the verse of St. Matthew, see chapter 20, verse 27, has influenced the vocabulary of all religious life, because calling prior, master, magister, or minister shapes the entire conception of authority as a service. So I guess it's using those titles implies that it's all about service when you minister. Sorry, the Italian translation is not perfect. And then the Italian speech, so maybe he gave this in both Spanish and Italian. Now it switches to Spanish, so I had to switch it in Google Translate. Now it says, to actualize this gift, you Trinitarians have chosen to focus on the purpose of your institute, to bring consolation to those who cannot live their faith in freedom. During these months, you have prayed this desire, following the words of St. Paul, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed, end quote. That's 2 Corinthians 4:9, which inspires the motto of your chapter. I join in this prayer and also ask God the Trinity, that this may be one of the fruits of your assembly, that you may not fail to remember in your prayer and in your daily efforts those persecuted for their faith. That part, the third, concerning the persecuted, according to the teaching of St. Augustine, is God's part and the one that marks the vocation of the liberator of his people. And there he's referencing Questions on the Heptateuch, Book 2, from Pope St. Augustine. Furthermore, this tension towards the members of the Church who suffer the most will draw the attention of vocations, the faithful and people of goodwill, to this reality. It will keep you available for the frontier services you carry out in the Arabian Peninsula, the Middle East, Africa, and the Indian subcontinent. And then he goes back to Italian. Another essential element of the purpose of you, Friars Minor Conventual, was, in this chapter, to carry out a discernment on the regulations of the general and provincial chapters, because in them, quote, we speak of the things of God, end quote. It's not our personal interest that must move us, but that of Christ. It is his Spirit that we must first listen to, quote, write the future in the present, end quote, as the motto of your chapter says. Listen to him, in the voice of the brother, and the discernment of the community, and the intention of the signs of the times, and the appeals of the magisterium. There's some synodal stuff there. Dear sons of St. Francis of Assisi, in the 8th centenary of the composition of the Canticle of the Creatures, or of Brother Son, I exhort you to be, each one personally and in each of your fraternities, a living reminder of the primacy of the praise of God in Christian life. I don't want you to forget that your conventuals are celebrating the anniversary of your renewed presence in the Far East. Dearest, I would like to conclude this meeting with the praises of God Most High, the Trisagion written by St. Francis. Quote, you are holy, Lord, only God, who work wonderful things. You are strong, you are great, you are most high. You are the Almighty King, you Holy Father, King of heaven and earth. End quote. And that's from Fonte Francescane 261. Thank you all, and may God bless you.